I mean, I'm pretty sure you were telling them to be telling, not really telling to be asking for permission.
Exactly.
So it's kind of you know, how heavy was that opinion from mom and dad when you told them? I mean, you've already made your decision, because
hmm
you're married, so that's a decision between your husband. But how much did that opinion or response have on you in that?
On me personally, like I honestly felt sad. I felt sad about it. Particularly like with my dad. I didn't know that he saw so much value in that as opposed to just in me. You know what I mean? As a person, as his daughter, all of that. But at the end of the day, it was really one of those, I had to put on my big girl panties kind of thing. It was what it was, and I wasn't going to change it. I think, it's funny having a child can kind of, bring qualities that you never knew you had out of you. And I mean, that was one of those things. It was just like, nope, this is it. And,
Yeah.
you're not changing my mind on it.
What's going on, good people? Welcome to Between Friends. I'm your host, Anthony, and my lovely co-host, Nikki. What's up, bud?
Hey, what's going on?
All right. Hope everyone is doing well. Once again, thank you for tuning into our podcast. If you like what you have been hearing and watching, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also you can hear us on Spotify. Also follow us on our various social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and let's all become friends. Nikki, how's your week going?
It's going good so far. I will not complain. Thank you for asking. Family is good. I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Can't really complain. Like you, family's doing well. Uh, got to golf a little bit yesterday here in Chicago, so can't really complain. So, quick little wellness check. How's your physical, mental? Well, you already said family. So, how's the physical and mental?
Day by day, so
Oh boy, oh
no,
boy.
not in a bad way. I mean, as we get older, things change. So you just try to keep up your health, and, mental is a day by day thing. So, I have some loss in my family. So that's always a daily thing. So, I've been hanging in there. I have a smile on my face today. I got up and everything works. My mind is good. And so I'm blessed. Don't complain. How is your physical and mental?
Physically, I'm feeling good. Uh, I went running the other day and I think I pulled something. So, but I'm still able to run. So I did get up this morning and still ran, but not as fast as I normally would. But I'm doing well physically. Mentally, uh, I'm here. And everything at home is pretty good. So I would say mentally, I'm here. I'm here. So
Good.
truly, truly, truly can't complain. All right. Today we are honored to have with us on our show Sheree, better known to her bloggers as DrMom. Sheree, thank you for your willingness to grace our podcast. I know your schedule is busy, so we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. So, welcome to the show, Dr. Mom.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. So, we did a little wellness check between myself and Nikki. So, I would ask the same question: how's your physical, mental, and family?
Physical, I would say, is pretty good. The family and I went bike riding 2 days ago. I'm still, feeling the burn from that. But other than that, physically, I'm doing good. Thank God. Can't complain. And for mental, thank God I'm doing well. I have peace, I have joy, so can't complain.
Can't complain.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up. You know. Well, again, thank you for being on our platform. Uh, it's customary here that we ask the first question is, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what makes Sheree, aka Dr. Mom?
A little bit about myself. So I grew up in the DMV, so DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and moved to Florida for 3 years, and then after that was off to Michigan for college, where I met my husband, and then we were off to Chicago, where I did med school and residency. And we felt led to move to North Carolina. And, with all that moving, it was hard for me to find a place to call home. And now that we're here in North Carolina, I really do truly consider this to be my home. And I'm happy that, I get to raise the kids here and all that. So that's just, a brief overview, in a nutshell.
Oh. So you consider yourself a Tar Heel?
Yes, I do. My husband, he's a Blue Devils fan, but we're house
Nice.
divided, so
Oh, oh. Well, everybody can't be perfect, as they would
yeah.
say, because I too follow Duke Blue Devil basketball. So you know, hey, like I said, everybody can't be perfect, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Nikki, you quiet over here.
I am listening to the conversation. We are. Don't start picking on me.
Hey, as you would say, we are all friends. So I'm not really picking on you. I'm just picking on my friend.
All right, all right.
I've read a few of your blogs, right? And you also stated that you went to med school in Chicago and did your residency also in Chicago. What was the inspiration for going to med school?
For most of my life, I was around folks in the healthcare field,
Hmm.
for pretty much my entire life. My mom's a nurse; she's now a nurse practitioner. My dad, he was an X-ray tech, and all my aunts, in some way, shape, or form, for the most part, were in healthcare. So it was kind of what I just, was familiar with. And I've always had a heart for helping people. So I, just put the two together and thought that that might be a good way to be able to, help people and to serve. And Pretty much I've been on that track for most of my life. In high school, I was in a special honors program where, where you're kind of like fast tracked to, have exposure to things in the healthcare field. And then, all throughout my college career, that was, my aim.
What type of medicine did you want to practice?
Physiatry or physical medicine and rehab. So pretty much that's a field where you as a physician, you work alongside the healthcare team, folks like PT, OT, to create rehab plans for people who they've either been in some sort of like traumatic, accident, or depending on your specialty or subspecialty, they're you may work with patients who have had a stroke and you're rehabbing from that. I was interested in traumatic brain injury, so that was, where I may have headed to. But actually, interestingly enough, after having kids, pelvic floor rehab, may have been something of interest as well. So
Sound very intricate.
yeah.
Very important is more like it. That's
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I wish there were more physiatrists out there, to be honest, because it's a lesser known field. So, although folks are starting to learn about it, which is good.
Oh, really? Why is that? Why
Um,
why why the numbers are so small in that specialty?
I think it's just not known about. It's newer. I mean, when I say newer, the past, I don't know, maybe 50s, 60s, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, so I would say that's why it's lesser known. Like a lot of times you'll even, like, at least when I was in school, I would tell other attending physicians when they would ask, oh, what specialty are you going into? And I would share that with them. And a lot of them wouldn't even know what the field was. So. But it
Okay.
is becoming, a little bit more known about.
Is that an area that started more in the naturopathic way and kind of made its way into mainstream medicine,
Yeah,
which is why
exactly,
okay, all
exactly.
right,
And a
okay,
lot of their, treatments and stuff kind of like pull from that, which
okay.
I think is really cool. And I think there's a lot more of that that's needed,
Yes.
in healthcare as it stands right now. So.
So you weren't just a regular pill pusher, as we would say.
Right, right, exactly.
Mm,
Like, yeah, let's try some exercises, see if that helps. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, for
Did you
sure, for
did you
sure.
lean more toward naturopathic medicine? Like, was that something like even though you were, in the field, but was naturopathic or I guess like just the study of it? Because I know they kind of merge together, but I don't know if I'm wording it correctly. So, like, how chiropractors have their, way of helping or whatever, and it can kind of
Hmm.
cross over or whatever. Was it like an interest to kind of bring those two together for you with that interest that you had?
Yeah, I mean, so my mom growing up, she was always very like holistic minded. And she always tried to make sure that like we ate really well.
Mhm.
I was a vegetarian starting like in the fourth grade. So health, wellness, all that kind of stuff was always, just around. And so I think it was kind of just natural, I was drawn
Mhm.
to it probably naturally because of that. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Hmm.
also the work life balance. They tend to have really good work life balance.
Now, can you tell us your journey to med school and residency?
My journey in terms of just like,
Yeah, like as far as like graduating college,
mhm.
getting into med school, and then getting accepted into a program here in Chicago. As far as residency goes.
Yeah. So I went straight through. So I didn't have a lot of folks will have like a gap year or they'll like, study something in between. But I went straight from college. I studied for the MCAT my junior year, and did pretty well in that. And I got a lot of interviews. I had 3 acceptances to different med schools, and decided on Chicago. And I thought it was going to be. I don't honestly I don't know what I thought it was going to be. It was just so new to me. I went to Andrews University in Michigan, so
Hmm.
it's Southwest Michigan. So we would drive over. It's like an hour and a half to 2 hour drive max, to go over there. So like I had gone, but I really didn't know what to expect. But the winters were definitely a thing.
Yeah.
So, but after getting accepted and becoming adjusted and getting to meet people, I mean, I really developed a soft spot for the city of Chicago. And yeah, med school, was med school.
Hmm.
It was
Hmm.
definitely, you know, it was. I don't want to say it was a struggle, but you had to put in some work. You had to put in some work. But thank God, I was able to make it through. Got married between my third and fourth year of med school, and then started residency after that.
Oh wow. I,
Hmm.
I didn't realize that you got married so at such an early age.
Yeah, yeah, I got married
Oh,
while I was in
okay.
school.
All
Hmm.
right. Marriage. Okay. Well, now, I know we're kind of focusing on educational background and so forth, and now you introduced us to marriage life. You know, what was it like being married and being in school? Because I'm sure that was not a easy task?
Yeah, well, thank God, the timing of it like really, really, really worked out. So, I we got married between third and fourth year, because your fourth year is like notoriously like a more relaxed year,
Mm-hmm.
because by then, for the most part you're kind of just like interviewing for a residency, at the early part of the year, and you're kind of just doing electives and stuff, at that point in time. So, thankfully, that, timing wise, I was able to, enjoy the first year of marriage. I didn't have too many responsibilities. Obviously, I had to go into, clinic or in the hospital, whatever it was I was doing. But, I had a lighter schedule. So that the hard part of, everything was over. So that was good.
Now we know that you did a pivot. You shifted from doing med school and to being from doctor to Dr. Mom.
Hmm.
So, you want to tell us, like, what was the decision that made you say, "Okay, I like being a doctor, but that's not my path anymore." What was the deciding factor that made you shift with that?
Yeah. So, I ended up getting pregnant. I want to say it was like the end of my fourth year. So, I ended up starting residency. I was actually doing residency interviews like while I was pregnant and everything, like early
Mhm.
stage, all the nausea, and like,
Mhm.
going in and like, having to puke right before I like walk into an interview.
Oh wow.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, I
yeah,
know that feeling.
yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, and so so then, I ended up starting, I matched, and I was able to actually stay at the same institution, which was a huge blessing because they already knew me. Everyone was like super, super happy to be working with me. And I just felt comfortable there. And that was actually one of the decisions, or the reasons why I made the decision to rank, my institution really highly, because it was comfortable and I knew I was pregnant. So, anyways, I started, and the plan originally was to take my maternity leave. I was allowed to have 6 weeks max of leave, which, for a resident, that's really, really, really good, especially for, someone in intern year, your first year. And things changed. I had the baby, my son Micah, and during that time, I really started to wonder, like, am I really, going to be able to go back? So once I started going back, I realized that this was not something that was going to be a good fit. I started feeling convicted about the need to, stay home and invest fully all of my energy into, being his mom. And, it wasn't an easy decision. It was definitely God led. But, at the end of the day, I came to the conclusion that there can and will be other doctors, but I'm the only person who can be Micah's mom. So, I thought about myself at the end of my life on my deathbed, and, looking back and saying, I had to weigh the pros and the cons, of the decision, because it's not an easy decision, especially having invested up until that point pretty much my entire life, into this career. Um, and so, I had to weigh the pros and the cons of the decision. And, I asked myself, if I had decided to continue to work, would I look back and, be happy with that decision, knowing that, he was, I don't want to say put on the back burner, but I mean, there's sacrifices. There's really big sacrifices, especially in that field, that, not just I would have to make, but, the entire family, my husband, him, or, vice versa. My plan was originally to go back to medicine, and I had to ask myself, if I don't go back, would I be okay with that decision? And I was okay with it. Worst case, if I never went back, I think I could live with myself, but
Hmm.
I don't think I could live with myself if I, knew that I hadn't done all that I could for him. So,
Right.
yeah, that was kind of how I got to that place.
Okay. And was your initially when you made that decision, I'm sure you had that conversation with your husband. Was he supportive of that decision for you to do that, or was that some type of, was it like a concern or worry, or was he on board?
He was 100%, 100% on board. He's a super supportive. He's always been really supportive of, of me and my goals. He actually was the one who made changes in his career so that way he could fly out or move out to Chicago to be with me while I was, in school and residency and everything. And yeah, so with this decision, he continued to be exactly that, just fully supportive. And, we obviously had to talk about what the future would look like.
Right.
Obviously that means there's gonna be a lot of changes, particularly like financial changes,
Hmm.
but yeah, thankfully he's been behind me.
Team hubby,
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
for sure. Now, when you made that decision, did you think of your parents, family members, how they would react to such a, you know, huge, decision, life altering decision?
Um, I thought about
Yeah.
it, but at the end of the day, I knew this decision was God led, and then B, it's something that I had to do for, myself, for my son, and so I informed them after the fact,
Hmm.
knowing that their involvement was not something that was going to be, productive at all.
Right.
So,
Right.
and when I told them, my mom at first, I think she had more of an emotional reaction. My dad, he just, went straight to anger,
Mm.
100% was against it. He told me that the next day I need to go in and, apologize, tell them I made a silly, mistake and,
Wow.
the whole thing, and ask for your position back, the whole thing. And during that call, he had actually said, you got to think about where your value is going to be, and it actually came as like a shock to me because I was like, I
I
didn't
can
know that you
imagine.
saw like my value as being in something that I do, it's just,
Hmm.
it's a job at the end of the day, but, thankfully my mom has since come around, and, my dad, I think he still thinks about it, but I do have my mom's full support.
How heavy, because I mean, I'm pretty sure you were telling them to be telling, not really telling to be asking for permission.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like, how heavy was that opinion from mom and dad when you told them? I mean, you've already made your decision, because
Hmm.
you're married, so that's a decision between your husband. But how much did that opinion or response, like, have on you in that?
On me personally, like I honestly felt sad. I felt sad about it. Particularly like with my dad. I didn't know that he saw so much value in that as opposed to just in me. You know what I mean? As a person, as his daughter, all of that. But at the end of the day, it was really one of those, I had to put on my big girl panties kind of thing. It was what it was, and I wasn't going to change it. I think, it's funny having a child can kind of, bring qualities that you never knew you had out of you.
Hmm.
And I mean, that was one of those things. It was just like, nope, this is it. And,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not changing my mind on it.
Now, how has life? I guess you didn't fully complete your residency program, but just in turn, how has life changed for the family? You know, good and bad.
Honestly, I don't really know that there's much bad. I mean, I guess if I really thought about it, but I mean, it's honestly just been as far as I can see, all upside.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm able to invest in the kids since then. I've had two more kids. So there's three altogether. I have my son and then my two daughters. And each and every day is a blessing. I get to spend, the time that I want to with them, and I get to invest in them, focus on like character development and instilling values. And educationally, they're excelling and doing really, really well. And I have peace in every day. I remember, in residency, and I imagine it's probably like this for, many other careers as well. Like you wake up with that like knot in your stomach and it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my goodness, what is this day going to be like? Just a lot of anxiety about the day. And then when, I was working, I lived in the suburbs of Chicago. So my commute going down 55, sitting in traffic for like, an hour and a half both ways, like it was rough. So that was no longer a thing. So, days were just better. I was able to enjoy them and quality of life just went way up. So,
For sure. And I'm sure the kids are enjoying mom being around,
oh
and
yeah,
mom having time for them. You know,
absolutely.
and so I'm sure the load is probably just as heavy as it would be, in medicine, because I'm sure taking care of the kids is a full-time responsibility.
Yeah, no, it is. But, I think it has more so to do with what actually fills you. Burnout is a big topic that a lot of folks in different industries have been trying to address. But, I definitely felt like I was approaching that point of burnout when I was in medicine.
Oh wow.
But, being at home, as much as, I do work, quote unquote, longer hours and, especially in the early, like infant stages, of their life, sleep was certainly a rarity, but I feel filled,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have that same like feeling of just like, I have nothing to give. So,
Well, that's awesome. And you have a very supportive husband at home, so I'm sure that made the transition even much simpler than it
absolutely.
probably would have been. So
Absolutely.
that goes a long way. And I just know that, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are of, your family's from the Caribbean,
Mm-hmm.
and just sitting here listening to you, how dad placed an emphasis on that title, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I too remember telling my parents, hey, when I go to college, I'm going to go into medicine. And to this day, my mom sometimes asks, "Oh, how come you never went into medicine?" There's uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's there's certain careers that bring so much prestige,
Right.
and I believe physician, the title physician or the doctor, seem to be one of those titles. And kudos for you that you were able to uh, place your family first, because I think some people, you know, carry on and as you said, probably burn out,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that full well that this is not what they truly want to do or what they're passionate about,
Mm-hmm.
but because of the external, forces around them, they tend to stick with it and
Yeah.
not being happy. I too had a friend back in college. She graduated from dental school
Mm-hmm.
and she was working, and she was like, I just hate going to work. And she was doing some public health work, and she quit dentistry and went back to school, got a MPH, and she's probably the happiest she's been in her life.
Oh, that's
So yeah,
awesome.
so kudos for you that you actually listen to yourself, because some of us don't listen to ourselves, because we have that thing in our gut, in our belly,
Mm-hmm.
but we refuse to listen. So kudos for you, and kudos to for having a supportive husband and putting your family first.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
me, that thing in my gut, that was definitely, I believe God, who led me in that decision. I didn't know what, the future would look like making that decision, and I don't want
Hmm.
to, sit here and tell the story in a way that, makes it seem like everything was all roses. I didn't know what was going to be next, and it was scary. But now sitting here at the other side of it, I'm so grateful that that's where He led me.
So I have a question. So since we're speaking on that and coming from a background where that's heavy and the type of career that you choose
Hmm.
and knowing that you made a decision to follow what made you fulfilled rather than the title itself, like
Hmm.
how how is that something, or maybe not how, but yeah, how would you teach your children to do that? Like go after what makes you fulfilled in your heart rather than what the prestige is, what the title is, what we think is the good career you should do because it sounds great behind your name.
Yeah, that's actually a conversation that, my husband and I have had quite a few times. They're obviously still very young, but, you know, the mindset that we sort of have towards it is that, no matter what you end up doing, and this I guess is what we would hope to instill in our kids, is that no matter what you end up doing, you want to make sure that it's wherever God is leading you. We are not so caught up, my husband and I, in the idea of prestige and
Hmm.
title, and even the idea of college. If they have a good plan for what they want to do, and they've shown themselves to be mature individuals,
Hmm.
we're open to the idea of them, not going to college. And I know there are probably
Where's the
people.
Caribbean in you?
I know exactly. And I could just see my mom, my dad watching this and just, losing it completely. But, there are other ways. There really are other ways. And I've become more open to that idea over the years.
Hmm.
My husband, he works for himself, him and his business partners. They've started many small businesses, they've acquired businesses. And as long as you have the right mindset, there's definitely a way to make it work. And if you are in purpose, and you're where God has you, I have full confidence that you'll be fine. And I think that's pretty much what we hope to be able to teach our kids.
Yeah, that's awesome. My
Hmm.
husband and I, we have two young daughters as well, and we've had those
Hmm.
same conversations.
Hmm.
Neither one of us are Caribbean background, but there was still a path that our parents want us to have, and the careers that we wanted. We both got a
Hmm.
no from our parents because they
Oh
felt like,
wow.
oh, that's not going to be da 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 da. Da. But it was something that we have. So we talked about making sure that whatever their talent is that we
Hmm.
help them grow that. Whatever
Yes.
your love and passion is, because I mean, I don't care if you say, "Hey, I want to be a mechanic." I mean,
Hmm.
Tire Kingdom started with somebody being a mechanic. Pet Boy started with
Exactly.
somebody being a mechanic. And so it's how you nurture that passion, that dream, that goal that they have. So that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that that's something that you're considering because I think
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
major, especially now in the way that society is. Even though they still have career goal oriented, there's way
Hmm.
more people getting into entrepreneurship and getting into trades and just literally taking their talent and making it into a business that can grow. So
Absolutely,
Mhm.
that's awesome.
absolutely. And I think you tend to be fulfilled, when you do that. I think burnout would be less of an issue if,
Hmm.
folks were pursuing their careers in that way.
Now, now you're no longer a what's deemed a physician by title. Um, Now I understand that you have pivoted again. So can you tell the folks what you're currently doing now?
So I say that my full-time job is being mom. So, I'm a
Hmm.
stay-at-home mom. I homeschool. So, that's my number one. But I
That sounds
am
like two. That sounds
say
like
what?
two. That sounds like two. A
Two,
stay-at-home
right?
mom
That's
and a
true.
teacher.
That's true. Yeah, so but I'm also a realtor. I 3 years ago felt led into real estate. Real estate has always been a passion of mine and of my husband's. Growing up, my dad actually, he used to always take us to like model homes just to look around. And that kind of sparked an interest. And then my husband and I, before we had kids, when we were first married, our like Sunday morning date would be to get brunch and then go look at model homes and just drive
Mm,
around and look at houses. And ever since then, that's kind of been our thing. Prior to us getting married, he flipped a property. Then we did two more flips after getting married.
Nice.
One actually while I was pregnant and getting ready to start residency. And so it's always been like a sort of just a passion. And, now I get to do that as, part of my everyday, which is awesome.
Now, when you say flips, are you actually in there with a hard hat and a hammer flipping?
Kind
Oh,
of.
okay. That's kind of cool.
Kind of.
Because some people flip from afar. So,
Right.
and then, because I
Well,
actually
so
like
I
both.
say kind of because we did
Okay.
some of that as well. So,
Okay.
with the flip that we did while I was pregnant, obviously I was
Yeah,
not,
no.
in there
Yeah.
doing much of anything. But, I would come in and say, hey, did you look at that? Did you, all of
Right,
that kind of
right.
stuff. But, my husband on that project, he did the floors. I think he did
Nice.
some trim work, little handyman kinds of
Hmm.
things, and all of that. So, yeah, I would say he's more obviously the handy one,
so
but
you're the project manager.
exactly, exactly.
You do
There
the
you go.
staging
I'm the
at the
eye.
end.
Well, yeah, and so what I'll do is like I'll handle it more so on the back end. So like
Mhm.
I'm doing inventory, I'm the one keeping the Excel spreadsheets. Did we get this? Did we do that? And then going in and like checking on the project, daily. So
Okay, cool. And
Mm.
do you guys
yeah.
do the same? You take the kids through to do you take the kids through to some of the projects and stuff that you do?
Well, this was prior. We actually haven't done any flips since moving
Okay.
to North Carolina, but yeah, it is something that we would obviously want to involve them in,
Hmm.
especially like teaching them about the business and everything.
Now, was it easy getting into real estate?
I wouldn't say it was easy. So, like it's actually interesting. I thought it was going to be much easier than it actually was given, that I had done medicine prior. But, you actually did have to, study and prepare for the test. I think the state of North Carolina, I don't remember the actual stat. I want to say it was like in the 60 percentage, range somewhere there. That the pass rate is about that for first time test takers. So thankfully, I was able to pass first time around. But I mean, it wasn't a breeze.
I guess you had good or great study habits coming
Yeah,
from
they
medicine.
came in handy.
Yeah, yeah. So you had to you got a chance to use that
Hmm.
part. Now, do you experience any challenges in the real estate game right now, or are there any challenges in the real estate game?
I would definitely say the biggest challenge right now is the interest rates. So things have definitely been slower for clients looking to get into the market. I actually have at least three right now that are kind of just like, and we're still looking, but we're waiting. The rates have to drop a little bit for us to be able to enter the market, that kind of thing. But other than that, I think a lot of the challenges are kind of more like what you would expect of just having to manage your own business, that kind of thing. But yeah, interest rates I would say are probably the biggest.
I mean, when do you find the time to go out? You mean you a mom by day, a teacher by day. So when are you getting with your clients? When are you getting together with your clients to actually sell homes or get families into homes?
Yeah, well, that's actually the really cool thing about it is that people tend to look for homes in the evenings and on the weekends.
Hmm.
So, that's when my husband's done working. So, he's able to take over and, I can pretty easily, get out to do whatever it is that I need to do related to that.
Again, super hubby.
Yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
know, Team Hubby. You hear that, Nikki? You hear that? Yeah, I just
It
Wait,
really
what is
takes a
that?
team.
What is that? What?
I'm just saying, you know,
Super.
sometimes we gotta give the men their flowers, man. You know, that's all I'm saying. You know,
Oh my
I
God.
agree. I agree. My husband is amazing, and I honestly could not do even a quarter of what I do without him. Even with homeschooling and all of that, in between meetings, if he hears the kids like acting up or whatever it is, he'll come out and be dad the enforcer and all that kind of
hmm
stuff. So, it really is a team effort.
now, when do you guys find time for the two of you guys to, alone time? Because you sound busy, hubby sound busy. When do you guys find time for each other?
He is very intentional about creating the time. I'm actually more the one who gets like caught up in the day to
Mm,
day. I have this to do, I have that to do, and I, actually will admittedly push, our relationship on the back burner, or I tend to. But he's the one that's like, nope, that's not happening. We're gonna have date
yeah.
night. We're gonna do X, Y, and Z. We can't, keep pushing it off. We gotta, schedule it in, all of that kind of stuff. And so, we have young kids, so it's not that we're able to get out often. For the most part, it's pretty much ordering takeout and, Netflix. That's pretty much, what our dates are. But thankfully, we do have grandparents that live in the state, or the kids' grandparents, our parents, I should say. And so they're about an hour away. So it's not that, we can, just drop them off on a random weeknight. But if we plan
Yeah.
for it, a weekend here and there, we can, take some time as well.
So, what advice would you give? Well, you're stay-at-home mom, so I'm just gonna. I mean, we could say a person, but we're gonna since we're talking about stay-at-home mom. So, if there was someone who's a mother and a wife and was looking to transition from a career to something that was more fulfilling, what advice would you give to them, and steps to take, and kind of how to work that process?
And you're saying transitioning like out of one
Yes.
career to another? Is that
From no, from one career to being a stay-at-home mom to like doing
okay?
something that's more fulfilling, and it could be another career, but since we're
Hmm.
talking about the stay-at-home mom, so you're kind of moving from mainstream into something that would be less mainstream, be it
Right.
your own business or like you said, real estate or stay-at-home mom, because that can be like you said, it's huge. You're going
Hmm.
from something that you
Absolutely.
know is secure to something that you hope is secure.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I think I would start with, just depending on where they're at, if it's something they're open to, lead with God, that would be, my first thing. But then, after that, really, it's, if you feel that your life and the trajectory of your life would be, more fulfilling making a decision like that,
Hmm.
then I would definitely say, don't hold back.
Right.
It's always scary to step out and do something new. But,
Hmm.
now for myself, having been on the other side of it, it really is such a shame, to let fear stop you from, living what could potentially be the best version of your life,
hmm
and, I say that, but also you have to do so with, making sure you have a plan in place. Obviously, there's going to be changes. I spoke to the idea earlier of, financial changes that, my
Hmm.
husband and I had to make because of that decision. So I would definitely say, make sure you plan it out, take whatever steps, you feel would be necessary, but um, don't don't hold yourself back because of the fear of being different, or the fear of living in a way that is not what you originally envisioned for your life.
Now, looking back, because I know we always like to self-reflect.
Hmm.
Are there anything you would have done differently? Uh, whether it is, the medicine decision, or going into medicine as a career, or
Hmm.
transition from medicine to a stay-at-home mom, to homeschooling your kids, to can I continue? But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, are there
Anywhere
anything? Yeah,
along.
are there anything that you think you would have done differently?
That's interesting because I live with the understanding that all of the decisions that I have made have shaped me into the person that I am today. So I don't regret any of the decisions that I have made up until this point. But that said, I do wish that I had early on more exposure to other careers. But then in the same breath, I do love so many things about medicine, but a lot of the, I guess, hangups that I had with that career in general was, and more so had to do with what healthcare has become. And, we've kind of seen,
Mhm.
how the business side of medicine has really just like taken over.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And, that's been kind of like the big issue that I had. But I have such an appreciation for the knowledge that I now have, being able to use that knowledge, just in the day to day with, my kids, and all the little, colds and, illnesses that come with having young kids. There's not a freak out in most of it. And, I'm able to address at home, given that knowledge, which, has been super helpful. So I definitely don't regret going into medicine, but I think it also would have been cool if there were other exposures, as well. Who knows? Who knows what I might have gone into? But I do feel like this is the path that, was laid out for me. And,
Hmm.
I'm super grateful for it and for where I'm at now.
So I want to ask you, because you said that if you had other exposure, so if you had to think about a field
Hmm.
that if you knowing so all the fields that you know now that you maybe you
Hmm.
didn't have exposure to before, if you could pick
Hmm.
one that you would say, "Ooh, I would have liked to have done that," what would
Hmm.
that have been?
I don't know. When I was in college, the university that I went to, they had an aviation program. And I always thought that that was very cool. And I would have actually, if I had thought about it at the time, it would have been cool to take some classes.
Yeah.
So maybe something in that vein. Who knows?
Yeah.
There's just so many interests that I have that I feel like the sky's the limit in that realm.
Do you think that there's, because I know that, we talked off script or whatever about the fact that you went to a private school. Do you think that there was a lack in the exposure, because of that? Like for me, I know I wish I had been more exposed because like after getting into watching certain shows, like I would have loved to have been like a CSI agent. Like I thought that that was so cool. I didn't even know that that was a thing. Like, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, do you think that there was less exposure because of the type of private school? Because I went to private school my whole life too, in the
Uh,
same denomination. So it's kind of like, do you think that that was a hindrance in the exposure part?
I think really it's the Caribbean part of things in my story. I mean, pretty much it was you're either going to be
Either
a doctor, lawyer, nurse,
nurse,
and
yeah.
engineer, teacher. That's it.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's funny that you talked about that aviation program. I actually have a nephew that's attending that university, and that's what he's going into. So
Oh,
it's
cool. Oh, cool.
yeah, he's leaving Florida to move to cold Michigan. I feel for
Oh
him.
boy. Yep.
Yeah,
With all the snow.
yeah, I feel for him. So, fun question time. Fun question time. So, as I referenced earlier, you blog, right? So, what are some of your other hobbies? Besides blogging. I know you probably don't have time because you wear so many hats.
Yeah.
So, you know, but I know we all have some fun hobbies. Not to say that what you're doing now is not fun, being with the kids 24/7. But what are some of those hobbies that you enjoy?
So right now, I mean, it depends on the season of life because I'm always doing something different, just, depending on where I'm at. I think last time we spoke, I shared with you that I had this new interest in hockey.
Mm-hmm.
But I, right now am enjoying, a friend actually came and helped us start a garden. So I've been enjoying doing some gardening. And then I'm also helping my husband. He has a little, business that he's trying to get started, and so I'm doing like some of the web design and stuff for that. So, I like sometimes just zoning out, playing some music in the background, and just like designing. So, yeah, that's some of the things that I'm into right now. I also like to play guitar, play piano. So.
She's just all around talented. You know, I wish I played an instrument. Mhm.
It's never too late.
Oh, it's never too late.
It's
So
never.
are you self taught on in those
Um,
instruments?
Self-taught for the guitar. I did take lessons for piano.
So now, as far as the blog goes, what's the focus of the blog?
So actually, there's kind of like two parts to it. So the Mrs. Mom, Dr. Wife blog,
Hmm.
that was something that I had started as I transitioned out of medicine. And I did that for about 2 to 3 years or so. And then now that I've transitioned into real estate, I'm more so blogging, on topics that pertain to that. And I do
Hmm.
that on just my regular like real estate page. So yeah,
Sounds like fun. Sound
yeah,
like
yeah,
fun. You
yeah.
know.
But you could add that to the hobby list.
Oh, I will. I will.
Hmm.
A woman that wears many, many, many hats. You
Yeah.
know. So I know we have, quite a few listeners. Uh, if you had to give any friendly advice to anyone listening to us today, what would it be and
Uh,
why?
Friendly advice. I would say kind of like what we were speaking about earlier. Just don't let fear stop you. From doing whatever it is that you feel led to do next. You know, the the best side of whatever you're looking at in your life could possibly be right on the other side of you overcoming that. So
Nikki, any closing words?
Not really. I want to say thank you again for, allowing us to invade your space and share some of your hats with you today. We know you have a lot going on. You are a phenomenal woman. And, from your transition to everything you're doing now is an awesome example for anyone. So, you know, that is just awesome. And I just want to say thank you for, sharing a piece of your world with us today.
thank you so
For
much.
sure. And likewise, man, I admire your courage, because as we both stated earlier, you know, having Caribbean parents sometimes can be tough as far as like selecting a career, a career path, and you stepping out on faith and actually saying, "Hey, I want to put my family first." I think that's commendable, and I don't know how many folks would have actually went through with it, and for you to actually do that and are thriving today in your, you know, career path. That's awesome, and it's also beneficial that you have a such a supportive family, especially hubby.
Absolutely.
So we got to
Absolutely.
give our guys the kudos, and
Absolutely.
because sometimes, as I told Nikki earlier, you know, we don't give the guys enough credit. So hubby, if you listening, great work.
Yeah, 100%.
That's awesome that you guys are 100%, together. Because I know that can be difficult. Especially in this day and age where financially, we're all chasing that bag, and that double income household uh, always seemed to be the goal. And not to saying that you are still chasing that bag, but as a physician, naturally, financially, they tend to make a little bit more, right? So again, I think that's commendable that you followed your passion and you followed your heart and you stepped out on faith. So kudos, and thank you again for doing this show. Thank you for giving us the time. And if Between Friends can ever do anything for you, let us know. And this is our show. We are Between Friends.